Where's my horizon? I'm going to put it down here. That's a good place for a horizon. Comfortable with that. I like that bit of sort of headland on the right. That's going to kind of come down in, and then my rocks will be in that space here, which will kind of join in. Oh, that's going to put the sun in the middle. Do I want the sun in the middle? Just on the left of it, maybe. Yeah, I think I'll put the sun on the left a bit, so about here. So that group of rocks, however that looks, yeah, it'll be there. Yeah, bring that water in a bit there. Still holding this tube of yellow. You don't need that. So I can see where my edge was. I can work that back a little bit. Bit more red here. Yeah, I've got these clouds that the light's coming out of. So dip down a bit there. I'm going to exaggerate the angles of those as well. Red clouds. Who'd have thought it? Who'd have thought that would ever work? Well, we don't know if it will yet. Might be an absolute disaster. Yeah, we've got this streak of light that sort of travels across the middle and starts disappearing over here. So there the bottom of the clouds are broken, which is going to be quite fun. Like there. Thin that a bit more. Keep it pale. Yeah, that red underneath should work pretty well. Let's put a bit more in there. Here. I can always put some more in later on if I need it. Yeah, scribble in red for the rest of it and just keep buffing that back. It'll be a bit thicker there. Now I used to know why the sun from behind the cloud makes those lines. That sort of, I guess it's the cloud that's illuminating and then the beams come from the clouds, but if there's anyone of a scientific mind, please do illuminate us. Or if you don't know anything but feel like making stuff up, you know, that seems to be acceptable these days as well. So, but I can't remember why it happens. That lovely sort of, those diagonal streaks that come out of there. Hey. Right, so I've got some tonal values, but this isn't really all about tone. This is all really more about colour at the moment. I'll get a bit of tone in there, maybe a bit more in there. Okay, and we'll thin this again. Back to our pinky colour. Let's just scrub all of that in actually, get that pink over the whole lot. There you are. Is that making sense to you yet? It isn't to me, but it doesn't matter at the moment. I've even lost my horizon, which is quite fun. Let's pop that back in. No, I can't, as it's now already too wet. In which case, let's do something else. Let's put in some light, bit of light, a little bit of white, not much. Yeah, nice little browny pink colour. So that was where I was going to put my sun, over there, wasn't it? Or something like that. Yeah, a few bits of light creeping through those gaps. And across here. I'll even move it down here. But yeah, got these lovely sort of beams, shafts of light emerging from the clouds. And they're going to be centered around here. There's a bit on the side of that, so I'm going to want some of that. So yeah, so this pinky colour is going to work quite nicely. Yeah, be some coming out of there as well. So this is paint which will show through a little bit. A little bit lighter even. And a tiny bit blue. Yeah, just a tiny bit. This is going to be quite a grey blue. Mixing in a little bit. So in here, there's almost this sort of halo around the clouds from this other light coming in. Oh yeah, a bit over here. Now I've done that a bit more. Just to make sure my horizon's level. Let's do that. That's going to be the top of it there. Let me just sort of join that up. Sort of blurs into the clouds a little bit in places. A bit of that in there. A bit of that in there. Don't rush that too soon. Okay, a little bit more light in that. That might be too much. This is still kind of what we call the imprematura stage now. I haven't got as far as doing like proper paint or anything yet, so. But I have kind of established tonal range. I can turn up here as well a little bit. shapes here. Alright, won't do too much with that. I've got some water in there. That's going to sneak in a bit over here as well, and I'll have a little bit that's just sort of crept through the rocks. Okay, there's the beginnings. Definitely the beginnings of something. Yeah, that's fine. I'm glad of anyone to stop by, it's nice. Yeah, it's quite dark, so this is definitely middle of the cloud stuff. And I'll do the dark bits first because I'll lighten them later on. Doing there wasn't quite right. So I'll put a bit of this into these clouds over here. That's that bit of light, that's that angle over there. Browner up there. I'll come to that afterwards. Do I want to borrow some of that for the water? I think I probably will near the front. Okay, a bit more purple in there now. Let's move over one. Especially up here. Let's just dab some of that in. Okay, and then here's where the green's going to do its job. It's quite a strong green, that, but I'll mix it in with this purpley colour. Where that breaks up, I wonder. I'm rather aware I'm not very good at holding people's attention. But as I've always said, this isn't meant to be entertainment. Okay. Let's get some of that green underneath on my horizon. And a bit into here as well. And into there. Okay, and some raw umber. I'm going to put a bit of red in it, just like before. A little bit of blue now, just to darken it down. Okay, this is just a placeholder really. Where these darker colours are going to go. Let's have a look at some of those rocks, see how the light's carrying off those. So I'm going to borrow some of that light from the sky just to carry off those rocks with some of the same shapes, especially in the shadow bits. Once I'm comfortable about my range of colours and the language of light that I'm using, then I guess I'll go ahead and make some thicker paint and try and do something with that. But yeah, to begin with, that's okay. I'm going to go into this a bit more blue. Slightly darker colour. Let's go back to those clouds again. It's much darker around here, leading across to oh. Bottom of that cloud. A little bit more ultramarine in there. Darken it up nicely. Hey, that's yeah. Okay, I'm getting a little bit of the feeling of what was there now. I'm not worrying about going over edges and getting these darks in because the lights were coming afterwards. Certainly in there it gets darker. A little bit in here, a bit more ultramarine. And in there a little bit. In after I've got the sky colour in, which I think I might start doing now actually. Yeah, now a few more of these darks in the sea as well, especially directly underneath those clouds. And under there. And a bit in there as well. Oh yeah, I've got this sort of wave that comes in. While I see it, while I think about it, there's more red in there. I want a whole load of red in that shadow. Really bring it forward. Really create a contrast. Bit in there. That's too light, isn't it? Actually, that will match quite nicely for going around these clouds. A little bit more light in there. Like I said, there's a sort of a halo around them, so I'll do this light around them first. This sort of lovely creamy light of illuminated clouds above. That's going to be fun to put in when the time comes. A moment. Let's get a bit more of that on. Right, no. Okay, so there's two. There's a yellower version, which I'm going to put here. There's a bit of light, a bit of yellow ochre. And I'm going to put that in that gap there. It's going to mix in with the clouds a bit. It'll also come in here. And a little bit into that. And it will mix in. What about this side? Maybe a little dash of it there. Definitely borrow a bit into the water. That's too light though. But at least it gives me an idea of where it goes. Yeah, I can put more colour in that later on. There's also sort of, oh, hang on, borrow a little bit of that just to sneak in that gap down there. Okay, right, other side, I've got, it gets a bit darker, a little bit more ultramarine. And that's certainly for up here. Bit up there. Not entirely sure where it goes, so I'll just bung in the load. And then again, another chunk of ultramarine. Still quite a muddy colour, but that's okay. It will sort of dusk. It won't be super bright. There isn't loads of light in the sky, and what there is sort of slightly tinged with that readiness. Now, yeah, I think that's kind of working. Go back to that light one, just somewhere in between those two. Pop that in here. That seems to work pretty well. Okay. I don't want those lines to be too angled over there. Straighten up those bits. Okay. Smashing. How's that going to work in? So it kind of interrupts with this. No, it needs to be tonally similar to that blue, so I'm going to put even more purple into that, which might seem very, very wrong. A little bit of lemon yellow. Hang on, I think partly it just needs to mix in a little bit, but can always lighten that blue as well. Let's put a whole streak of that in. Yeah, there's a bit of it down here as well. Interacting with that cloud. There's definitely some along the top of that one. It does catch the light there. I like that, that's nice. Leave that as it is. Yeah, it sort of goes around here. That's too around, isn't it? There it has a contrast to the background, and here. And there. Borrow a little bit of that pink I was making earlier now. Pop a bit of that up at the top. Yeah, naughty. And across here. Okay, where else does this make an appearance? A whole chunk of it there. And it will go around the top of these clouds. So I'll work into those shapes later on. So at the moment I can be pretty slapdash about it. That dark will come back again later. But we're already getting the effect of the light behind the cloud, which I quite like. Have a bit there. Bring in a few of these lights here, but it's not proper light yet. Maybe I'll put something in there just as a placeholder. it's quite fun to see that mixing in. I'm going to go back to this blue here, see if I can't work a little bit in there, lighten some bits of clouds, especially right behind where the light's coming from. Oh, missed a bit there. Be some behind that. Oh well, that's the beginnings of something. Let's put a little bit of that light into the water, just a little touch. Maybe along the top of that wave. It's weird that directly below where the sun is behind the cloud, it's actually more reflection of the shadow of the cloud than it is of the sun. If that doesn't read well in the picture, then I can just change it because it's my picture. So I'll do what I like. Just revisit my rocks there. There's a few bits where they kind of catch the light, especially near the front. Outlines of bits of rocks. Which I quite like. There's a rhythm to them. This one picks up a load of light, but it's not going to get too strong. Slightly more distant, slightly purpley shapes over here. The darks later will sort of finish off that job. Some thicker paint here, so that peachy colour, that's definitely going in here, breaking into those clouds there. I can bring more yellow into it later on as is necessary, but to begin with, oh yeah, I've got this sort of chunk and then there's this proper slab of light there, which I quite like. I'll make that a little bit oranger, more orange, whatever the word would be. Okay, and this bit of luminosity, I suppose the word would be, will hopefully start to bring this to life. Bit of a glow. Even put a little bit in there. That could do with a bit of glow in it. That's good, that. That's good, the tops of those clouds up there. So put a bit in there, a little bit there, a little bit over the top of this. We'll come back in with some pink in a bit as well. Oh yeah, and the tops of these, definitely the tops of these clouds. Definitely lighter under the bottom edge. Yeah, there's a bit more of a glow to that now. Now when I go in for the darker bits of cloud, especially at the bottom of here. Can really chuck that on. That is very blue. It's darker in the photo, but as I said, I'm not being a slave to the photo. I want it to feel distant. Here. You can't see that, it's behind the iPad, but maybe if you lean over a bit. Some of that in there as well. Just a little bit. As I said, it's sort of redder up at the top, but right, let's get some of that lighter one. There's a whole bit of lighter cloud up there, all across that edge. It comes around here, and this is the colour that kind of bites into that glow around the edge. Too. Let me borrow a little bit of that purple. No, that's too much. Maybe going the other way, maybe a bit of a green. Raw umber just to take it down a bit. Certainly some greeniness going on in there. Yes. And that'll thicken up a little bit. A little bit in there. Yes, that sort of juts across that bit and kind of joins up again. Okay, now I've got that green on there. I can put some of that into the water. That's going to move my horizon along nicely as well. Certainly in from this side. I don't know how much I can turn up the volume on the colour. That's more ultramarine. I'm going to bring that in. And some in there as well. I need another colour to balance it out. I've got this light one here. I'm going to put more red into that, maybe a little bit of alizarin because it's slightly cooler. keeping some depth in it, but there's definitely more up here. Here it's almost orange. Yeah, up there's a ton of it. I think it's really red. And up here. Yeah, it's these broken edges of clouds. It gets a bit blue in here in the middle. Yes, these broken shapes of clouds underneath. Kind of important. And under here as well. Got this sort of halfway, distant clouds there. And I put a little bit more light into that green colour for the water. There's more yellow in that as well. Make a separate one. Chuck some yellow ochre in it. Drag a bit more of that light across. And that'll do my water, I think. Right. A few of these denser darks. Looking. That's nice. There's still little bits of the red showing through from underneath. I don't want to completely obliterate that, so I'll let that carry on. Let's go back to that sky colour again. Halfway in between these two. A bit more light in it. Just to finish breaking up those shapes there. This is lighter and it borrows a little bit of that glowing light. Definitely in this area here. So sneaking little bits of light in here. That's too much. I do want a bit extra going around those rocks. No, that's definitely too much. It's interesting to try and sort of find those colours. I went too yellow earlier with that. It's about right there. Here it kind of fades out as it goes back. Okay. Yeah, I don't really want to fiddle with that anymore. There's some frilly bits going off into the sky there. And there. Yeah. Let's not overdo it, it's just little bits. Let's break up the shapes of those clouds where they come across. Give them their wispiness. Very necessary. Great. Whoa. Okay, I'm going to put some proper glow. Haven't used any cadmium yellow yet, but that's okay. Into here. Especially the tops of those clouds really needs that orange turning up. Bit in there, a chunk of it there, and let's put a few bits around those clouds there. That's about all it needs, I think. Don't want to overdo it. A bit of lemon yellow and white right on the horizon. Nice. Actually, that's going in the wrong direction there. That's okay. Right, we're going to pick up some of that green. We have some green highlights just in the places where we need them. So I'll definitely get a bit of green underneath that light there. There's a bit in here. There's actually a bit there where it crosses over. There's a bit there in the sea. There's a bit here in the sea. Bit more ultramarine in there. There's different sort of flavours, if you like. That's going to have to do for that. I don't see myself making that any better. Let's get some proper darks for the foreground. see the rocks there, you won't be able to. But I tell you what I'm going to do actually, I'm going to do that lighter redder colour first, and I'll work the darks around it. So especially in the foreground here, needs to borrow a little bit of blue, I think. Maybe it already had enough. There you are, some of that sort of stoniness. I think that's pretty much there. Let's get some of those heavy darks on. While we're at it actually, I did a blue version, let's do a green version. Just for a few bits here and there. Just where it's quite neutral. At the tops of those. Right, proper dark now. Raw umber and ultramarine, and a bit of alizarin crimson. And this should allow me to chuck some really heavy dark shapes in. And they're going to be sort of like negative spaces, so this is going to link together, which is kind of important when you're putting darks into especially landscape painting. A dark sat on its own would become an object. You link them together and it becomes a journey. Right. So definitely for right at the front. Those are the sorts of shapes we've got. Let's put some of that heavy contrast in there. Few rocks in the water there. Break that up a little bit, and then when we get further back, join up those dark shapes together. I'll put a bit more blue in it. So when we get back to here, these rocks which jut out into the sea. I don't like the way I did that. No, that'll do it. And then it goes into quite a nice straight line. Okay, and right in the foreground, let's do some Prussian blue and alizarin. We'll catch some light on this afterwards. Sense of shade in the foreground. Let's bring it up here. Put this light colour here so you can put a bit of that in. good. I don't want to overdo it. And what else? What else does this need? I've got my journey into the background, that's working quite nicely. Don't want to do too much with the sea, that's not super important. Let's throw my brush around. Let's solve that problem. I've got some of this yellowy colour here. I want to bring a few of those lights in, just a bit of rough texture in the foreground. Maybe even a few highlights on the rocks. A few over here as well. Just a couple. Not too much. And just to give it a little finale with the red. Bring that into the clouds a bit. Join some of these things together a little bit. A bit of that pink travelling in. Yeah, helps make it a bit more dynamic. Okay, I'm fiddling now. Oh, definitely up at the top. Move that pink in. That will do. I think this needs to be signed. Flake white also has a lower tinting strength, but it won't be as bright. And I want that to show up around here a lot more. Okay, definitely make that a little bit oilier. And there's this kind of bright halo around those lights. Looking back at it now, it's joining in with this light down here. So I'll put a bit more of that in there as well. As I go along, that sense of light is growing. The gaps there. Excuse me. Oh yeah. So that's already glowing more. You see that?
Yep. Yeah.
I want a little bit of red in there.
Which red are you using there, James?
That's cadmium red.
Okay, okay.
Can you use linseed oil, James?
What's that, sorry?
Can you use linseed oil?
I'm using safflower oil, but yeah, same thing really.
You could.
Okay, and I'm going to blur the edges of those. That could be even more orange actually. Oh, maybe that's too much. But it's all slightly transparent, so I don't have to worry about it too much. There you are. So let's work into those and make them a bit peachy. So I could have just sort of mixed one colour and mixed them together on the palette and put it on, but I want it to sort of dance around a little bit. And especially when it gets nearer these purpley clouds, I want more orange around there. There's a lighter bit. Can pop a bit in there. It's much. Quite a bit more around the clouds here. So I'm just dropping this in as a colour that wants to live around here somewhere. A bit more in there as well, actually. Around those edges.
All right.
A bit more in here. That's a little bit. I'm actually going to put quite a bit of that into the clouds here. On the surface. Someone's popular. Use your rag to pull that back. All red. Mix here. Bring that in. Just around the inside edges of the clouds there. There's this crossover, this glow, but this is still oily paint, so I can still work it back a bit if I need to. Where else can that go? A bit more up there. And like I said, I want to make a bit more of a job of brightening up that sky. But I'll keep that brush and I'll get a new brush. Slightly smaller one, I think. And again, this is just a brush to make this on the stops. Just some flake white. Bit of yellow in there.
You put them in the box.
Tiny dab of ultramarine. How's that looking? It's looking a bit more like that colour. I think I can put more white in it. Oh, I'm covered in paint. It's not intentional. I'm having to make an adjustment here because I'm used to using titanium white for most things. Flake white doesn't go anywhere near as far. So I'm going to need more of it, even though I'm only doing small quantity. So let's chuck a whole load of that.
Which blue is that then, James?
Hang on, so I've turned the sound down for the recording. Say that again?
I just asked which blue would look like cerulean blue.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm using ultramarine
All right.
and a little bit of this yellow to
Okay.
tint,
Okay, so it's ultramarine.
and that works quite nicely for in there, and it's a bit brighter. So I can use some of that in here as well. And it's going to break into that orange, so let's brighten it a bit here. So if I work into the edges of those clouds with that lighter blue, got a Prussian blue here as well.
All right.
Oh, that's way too much. Chuck even more. No, that's too light. It'll come back. So I want to, I can, throw a little bit of extra colour in there here. And certainly where it gets nearer the top. Oh, that's too dark. Yeah, that's nice. Oh no, it's not what I want. Let me get that excess off the brush. Bit more light. Get back into this. Okay, so we can clean it up here a little bit. And into here. Oh, it's some dark right in the middle of the brush, and it doesn't show up when I'm mixing, and then as soon as I start trying to work it out, it comes out when I start painting. There it is. Ah, get off. Right, okay. There's a bit of mixing on the surface right there.
Do you mind that?
What's that, sorry?
I say, do you mind if you mix on the surface sometimes?
Well, it's not giving me any choice.
All right.
I mean, I'm mixing this on the palette. Mix, 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 mix. Put a mark on. It's got this big dark blue bit in the middle, just coming out of the brush somewhere. There's a lump of Prussian blue in the brush somewhere, so I could either stop, clean the brush, start over, or just adapt to it. So, no, I don't mind mixing on the surface. It's okay. But yeah, I don't want to do it any more than I have to. Okay, so I've got that sort of cerulean. It's Prussian blue and white, really, but it's the same, exactly the same hue. And that's turning up that blue. I think that might be too much. Okay, we'll get a bit more white and a bit more of that yellow. I'm going to make a new mix just next to it. I'm going to bring that out here. Yeah, and so I'm getting this conversation going between the blue of the sky, the yellow from behind the sunset, and just the general sense of light. So from round here, so that's a bit too yellow. So that's going to go too green, so it needs to get washed out a little bit. And a bit of that orange to neutralize it. Yeah, there's a sense of that light coming through now from behind the clouds. A few crisper cloud shapes. A little bit borrowed in there, a little bit in there. Yeah, that's starting to work. Definitely needs a bit in there as well. There's a sense of it sort of light from behind the clouds, and I can see it now. I can see the thing I was going for. I'm going to carry on this border. So it comes right down into here. Oh, the camera's in the way. That's not going to help. But then as it goes up, it's going to mix into the paint I already put on. But I can also get some directions going in there into the brushwork, which I quite like. some of it's patchy, which sort of indicates some amount of cloud. Some of it, especially along here, some little hints of that sky from behind. Yeah, that worked. And last thing I'll do, I've still got a bit of this purple left from the clouds before. So I'm just going to mix up what I've got with some sky colour, bit of Russian blue, darken it down. And I'm just going to mix that with my light colour and work back into those edges. Get a bit more light in that actually. Yellow, white. There, so we start to get these sort of these borders of light around the clouds, especially around here. On the top of the there as well. Yeah, and so this is sort of closer to that style of clouds that we think of as you know, like a classical technique, if you like. I mean, I think it doesn't mean a lot, classical technique. It's just sort of, it's something that, it's a word that people use to describe looking old. But there are sort of, you know, methods or generals. There'd be a different method from every studio, every atelier, every artist would want to develop their own ways of doing things. So, you know, Courbet would have a different, Claude would have a different way of doing clouds from, who's that other Dutch guy? Anyway, you know, Roy, whoever it might have been. Yeah, even if they're from the same, yeah, they nick ideas off each other, but okay. I'm gonna go halfway now. I've got this cloud color, also got this light color, and I'm gonna put some of that light into the clouds.
Where is the light source? Is it off the page?
Find the clouds here somewhere.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah. That'll do for that, really. I'll go back to the darker one. Let's restore it a little bit, especially like red around here. A little bit more than that. A bit more even. Give it some transparency, let it mix in a bit. Yeah, so now the oil's sort of doing a job to break up those cloud shapes. It's definitely a lot redder up at the top, a lot pinker. Yeah, put a bit more of that in there. Anyway, I could overwork this if I'm not careful. So last bit, just reshaping those clouds, a bit of yellow, a bit of white. And then it's the power of bureaucracy. That's an example of one of the ways bureaucracy makes our lives better. So they can make a camera which you can use for doing video, but the taxes are different for a video camera than for a stills camera. So what they do is they make the camera which is capable of doing video for as long as you need, and then they disable that feature so that they don't have to pay as much import tax. So it's like deliberately, it's like hobbling your own horse so you can bet on someone else's. It's insane. It makes no sense at all, but we just accept it and go, yeah, that seems reasonable. Let's make things worse for no reason. Anyway, don't get me started. Right, so I've got these sort of lights coming out of this cloud here. Got some shapes into that blue of the sky, which aren't really there, but there's a sensation of them, in a sense. I'm not going to do any more to that now. I think that does its job. I'll go a little bit brighter just around those edges, but oh, I might start throwing my brush around. That's also another option. That's an example of a light touch, you see. I don't want to hold the brush too tightly. Okay, yeah. No, I think I've got some of the personality of those clouds there now. Soft edges. Yeah, I like that. And so I've done more to explain the light, how it feels to me, even though those things aren't really there in the paint in the photograph. I've made it much more about the light and the light traveling than it is about you know, the actual information in the scene. Now, the last thing I'm going to do, I've got some flake white, I've got this yellow. I'm going to do a bit of impasto just where it needs it, which is under here. And I've already got some, what do you call it, you know, sort of some paint down there. But just to get that sense of the glow, just drawing these up a little bit. And where else? A little bit in there. The yellow is the one doing the job, but it's not doing it single-handedly. So I'll go back to this peachy one here. Let's mix in what I had, and I can do a bit more of that. And in here as well. And in there. Move that back. So hopefully there's a bit of a sense of that optical glow you get around a bright light. You know, in the shadow objects around it, it seems to expand out into it. Yeah, get that done as well. Much. But yeah, again, don't want to be a slave to the photograph. Now I've got that. A bit more white, and use a bit of titanium white there. Quite a lot more oil. I can just do this last bit of brightening around the edges of those clouds here. Just in a few places where it needs to go. There's enough on working on the surface to sort of help me out. Mix in. Hey, that's where the drama really turns up, isn't it? So that's a nice little surprise for me. You know? Where else? A bit around here. Have a bit in there. And I'm moving away from my light source, sort of hitting the light against some of these bits of cloud. Depending on what it needs, let's have a little bit in there, a little bit in there, not much, a few little touches. Yeah, expand out these little orange edges. With my rag, I can soften some of those edges there. Take away some of the brush marks where they're not needed. There.
Yeah.
Last bit. There's always a last bit, isn't there?
Stop, stop.
Right that up, right in the centre. And that's, yeah, that'll do.
Well done.
There's some
Brilliant.
other, I mean, I've got the sea there, so I could, you know, chuck a few extra bits of light just into the
Yes, I thought that needed a bit more light.
drag that down. But it's weird, the sea behaves quite strangely there. You'd think this light would travel down across the sea, but it doesn't, because it's mostly reflecting the, what do you call it? Let's try a little bit of that green. I'll make a bit up there. That'll do. Oh, that's nice. A few scratches.
You can't resist it.
Yeah, there you go. Just to sort of, you know, keep it, you know, make it interesting.